Hey everybody, so we're going to do a little series on Javelin. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is how do I get this data from this REST call into my database. So if we look over here at our database, we have a table called, I just called it import data, just keep it simple. So if we do select all from, and we just run this, then here I can see I got a user ID, an ID, a title, and a body. And if I go back over here, I can see I've got a user ID, an ID, a title, and a body. So the question is, how do I get this into my database? Now, of course, with TDM, there's 5 million ways of getting to one answer. But in this case, we're going to use Javelin. So Javelin is a tool that is included in TDM. And I'm going to show you a couple ways of how to make this happen. So this is my flow. And if you know anything about this, hopefully I have some introduction ones, videos out there. If not, I'll create some explaining what Javelin is. But what we're talking about is how to get the REST call into the database. So we're not going to focus too much on the ins and outs of Javelin. But the first thing I'm doing is creating a log file. As you can see, I'm just kind of making sure that this data, this file is there, and I'm going to delete it. Okay. So let's go see what's going on in our demo in here. So I have a temp demo. I have a curl, okay, exe that I've downloaded. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I have a debug log. I have an empty JSON log, which I want to create this JSON log as well as populating the database. Now, the one thing I'm doing first is deleting the JSON, and you don't really have to go in this order, right? But then after that, I execute this batch file. Now, this batch file is going to, let's go ahead and edit this. This is going to call the curl command, okay? So get k, and I'm calling it on that URL, and I'm basically outputting that to the JSON file. That's all this is doing, okay? Pretty simple. But another way of doing it is creating this REST activity, okay? It's one of these over here, and what happens is if I go in here, I can put my base URL here, which is our file, as you can see. I give it a name, no big deal. I'm using a get method. And then down here, more importantly, I am putting some data into an array, into a JSON object. Okay, that's what these are. So if I look at my variables, I'm actually populating those two variables right here with data. Okay. So now if we, now this, I'm using some XML, but I'm not actually using that. It's not being used, so just ignore that. But from there, then we create our file called output. So we can go delete the output file just for sake of sanity. So delete. If it's already there, it doesn't do anything, so no big deal. And then the activity is we append our data from our JSON to that. So notice our imps toString, and that imps is our JSON array. Okay. And then more importantly, what I do is I come through here and I filter through each one of my arrays, because now we've got a J token, right? So it's a J array, and I'm going to loop through it, setting the variables, and then I'm going to push it all into my database. Okay. Pretty simple. So if I look at my parameters, each of my parameters are here. The values of these match what these up here are. So up here, I'm basically just setting this to what's looping through the actual. So if you look here, let's just make this where you can see it. Here I'm saying give me the item, right, that's coming through the loop. I want to select the token from it because it's a J token. And then I'm selecting the word body that's in that array, right, which is here. So we do that to each one. Okay, and then each one of those is then added to a parameter, which then gets inserted into your insert statement. Okay, so if we look at the insert statement, so here we have each one of these, and then my values are my parameters. And that's pretty much it. It's not too hard once you see it in action. And then here I just empty out the array. No big deal. So, but, no, actually that's a message. I was like, wait, I'm not empty out the array. This is actually writing into our log. I'm sorry. So with saying that, let's just run it and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and run this. Okay. Now it kicked off the curl command. Okay. The curl finished. And just that fast, it's now writing the data to the database. Now this is going to take a few seconds, so bear with me. I might even pause the video. Oh, no, it's done. Okay. So I was trying to talk very slow to let it finish, but each one of these is actually doing an insert. So if I go over here and look now, let's go look at what we've got going on here. So the first JSON was created by the curl command, and there it is. Okay, easy enough. The output was created by the REST call. There it is. And more importantly, we wrote to the database our data. So let's go back over here and let's execute. And there's our data. So again, this was a simple example, but it gives you an idea of two ways of how you can use Javelin to pull data from a REST call into your database.